Hi, this is Reagan Boggs. I am continuing this series, Things That I Wish I Knew. So we are going to dive right in. Please, if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do that. Go out and like my Facebook page, Reagan Boggs Coaching. It's RBC Quality of Life if you want to. Check out the website. Also, check me out on Instagram. Look for my music. I do a lot of things, and it could come across as being a little ADD at times, but I really think that all of the things that I tend to get involved with really give me so many experiences that I can share with you guys and maybe pass along some observations and potentially some words of wisdom. So if you follow me, you know that I work with adult children of alcoholics a lot as part of the niche for my coaching. And this is something that is a little tricky because while I feel like it's important to understand what the impacts of growing up with an addicted parent have on your mental state, your physical state, your health, the choices that you make, and perpetual bad choices that we make, bad partners, a lot of things that we need to really understand. We can also really get caught up in the story and the checklists. And I think there is a tendency sometimes to almost feel like that, well, this is something that's wrong with me, that this is the way it has to be. And that is not the case. And I think it's something that I almost fell into when I first started looking into this stuff. And I admit, seeing all of those checklists and all of the traits of adult children of alcoholics, it makes you feel differently about yourself. It makes you feel differently about your history. And you go back and you reevaluate everything that you've ever done through this lens of ACoA. And then it also makes you very aware of the choices and the decisions and everything that you're making today. So, while all of that can be very healthy, I am just now digging out of that I was so focused on the things that I was doing wrong during that time and all of those traits and all of those tendencies that I kind of forgot the good things and a lot of the things that I was doing right. And I quit doing those things. And I kind of wallowed a little bit into this mental mire of self-discovery. For a while, all I could see was the bad things. And I think we kind of are prone to do that, whether you're ACoA or you're not. I mean, our brains have this filter, right? And because, I mean, if you look at all the information that we are bombarded with on any given minute of the day, I mean, we just can't take all that in. So our brain is kind of like a bloodhound with, a scented rag or something. I mean, if you put something in front of the nose of your brain, if it was a bloodhound, it's going to find that. It's going to sniff that out. And I apologize, I am from the South, so my analogies may not be as elegant, but it really is. And so if I'm focusing on ACoA traits and looking at history and all of these things, then I'm going to find all those things. And I'm not going to be able to find the good things. And you aren't either. So we have to really work hard on our mindset. And this is something that I have really had to reset myself toward the end of 2018 because, I get bogged down in the things of the day to day like we always do. The kids got health issues, school, homework, SOLs, all of the things that, life throws at us. And if we are already kind of in that mindset of finding everything wrong, then nothing is ever going to look good in your life. So we have to start trying to train our brains to start looking for the positive things that we want to bring into our life. And I'm not going to get all woo-woo with all this law of attraction stuff, but now you do have a bloodhound in your brain. And you can use that to your advantage. I've listened to a lot of podcasts, and nothing that I say here is anything that I have discovered. This is listening to a lot of information from a lot of different folks. And, if I can remember who it is, I'll throw that out there. But, you have the ability to do that as well. And I have told you, it's very important that when you are wanting to change your situation, that you fill your days and time with things that are enriching and fulfilling and growing. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later too. But, so how do you start doing that? How do you start retraining and reprogramming that reticular activating system in your brain to start paying attention? Like, for instance, if I'm heading out of here and it's, I'm heading to take Parker to school. It takes me 12 minutes to get there, and I've given myself 15, right? And I get down to the end of the street, and I've caught a red light. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I caught this red light. I'm probably going to catch all the red lights. And lo and behold, the next red light, I have to stop. And, I pull in, and the bell's ringing. So I'm focused on everything that's going to keep me from getting to school on time, right? Because that's the mental state that I'm in. But if you are reprogramming your brain and you are reshifting your mindset, instead of, probably still going to be stuck at that red light, but you might look across the street and say, oh, wow, that building is for rent. I've been thinking about doing a cupcake shop, and, that would be a perfect location for that. Or if you see a billboard of, Women's Expo coming to the Meadowview or something, I mean, you start refocusing on all of the bad things and start looking for the things that positively you don't want to bring back in your life. And a good way to do that, and it's something that I have used over my lifetime, and not even realized that it was a thing until I started listening to some of these people in the self-development world, is visualization, and how important it is to think ahead, visualize, and see where you want to be and how that feels when you get there. Whether it's fitness, whether it's just, better friendships, whether it's better relationships, romantic relationships, you want to improve circumstances with your partner, you feel like you have really low self-worth and you just can't get there. So how do you do that, and how do you get there? And even harder, how do you get there when you've never experienced it? That's the trick. So you're just going to have to do some extrapolation and use your imagination, because if you don't know what you're trying to achieve, how in the world are you going to know it when you get there? And I do this, like with fitness. I've really struggled with fitness this year. It's a lot of time constraints, a lot of sitting, technology. I work at a computer desk all day. I come home and I narrate and record audiobooks for several hours of the day. I'm sitting here recording these videos, doing editing in front of the computer, so it's really hard. And the mindset's hard sometimes to make that an important thing. But it's like, okay, so I post a picture of myself when I'm really fit, and I say, this is what I can do. I know this is possible because I've done it before. This is where I want to be. I know how it feels when I feel fit. I feel confident. I feel flirty. I feel in my whole walk and talk and attitude completely changes instead of shrinking away. Because when you are in the entertainment industry and you put on a few pounds, the last thing you want to do is walk down the street and run into multitudes of people that, are going to say, hey, Reagan, oh, how you doing? Oh my God, look at all that weight she put on. So it's not pleasant. And those feelings, it will make you withdraw. It'll make you come in, you go into yourself. So the feelings that, whether you feel it around fitness, whether, how do you feel if you are confident and you have self-worth? If you don't know what what that looks like, or you have never felt confident. Because I know a lot of my ACoA folks have a difficult time with their self-worth. And, it's hard to visualize something if you've never experienced that. But you have to think about what that would be like. How, when you woke up first thing in the morning, what would be different than it is now? Instead of laying there dreading getting up, would you actually want to get out of the bed? Would you want to start, a fitness program? Because how much better are you going to feel when you are no longer living up here in your head? Because that's what self-worth is all about. You are living up here and not in the world around you. And Mel Robbins, actually, I heard her talk about this today. So don't live in your head. Don't listen to all of those thoughts that, tell you that you are no good, you're stupid, you're fat, you're lazy, you're no good for nothing, you have no value. We have to acknowledge that all of those feelings are there. But you have to start replacing those with something that is going to get you to make things better for yourself. And you have to take ownership in that, and you have to make a proactive attempt to do that. The actions will come, and this is another thing that we talk about. Well, what are the things that I can do, Reagan, to help my self-confidence? Well, if you can visualize how that feels and how things are going to be different, and how are you going to dress when you're more self-confident? How are you going to walk? How are you going to take care of yourself? How are you going to wear your hair? All the actions will fall into place for you. If you want flat abs, yeah, you got to go to the gym. You got to do a few crunches, and you probably got to lay off the Dr. Pepper. And, that's the actions. You can find the ways to make things like this happen, but you got to know where you're going, and then you can start building the actions. And that is the hardest part. Our mindsets are huge, and that is something that I have always been able to work around up until the last 3 or 4 years. And when I had kind of put myself in this box of this ACoA and trying to really with an attempt to improve myself, but at the same time, I really brought a lot of heavy stuff back in. So do that. Spend a few minutes every morning and write some things down. When I'm self-confident, here is how I'm going to be. Here are the people that I'm going to be talking with. These are the places that I'm going to go. And it starts there. The clues start there. If you want to be fit, have you been fit in your life? If that's the case, then throw a picture up there, put it on your damn refrigerator, and make yourself look at it and say, I am capable of this. And if you haven't ever been like that, it doesn't mean that you can't be. And another thing that we kind of get bogged down in is thinking that for some reason that it's easier for someone else than it is for you. Oh, she's always been skinny. Well, yeah, but she may have suffered with clinical depression all of her life and anxiety and PTSD. Well, yeah, we all have our things. Don't ever assume that just because someone is able to do something that for some reason they had it easier and it's going to be so much harder for you. That is a cop-out. Don't ever assume anyone has had anything any easier, whether it's they've had money, seems like for some reason they've just had more breaks. Our choices are our own. And if you choose to look at someone and say, well, I can't do that because things are different for me and things must have been a lot easier for them, that, my friend, is a cop-out, and that is an excuse and another reason for you to not have to try. And I am not going to let you get by with that. You deserve better. If you are miserable and you've had a rough way to go, then let's acknowledge that you have had a rough way to go. That several of you, you may have had really bad health problems. You may be dealing with family members who are going through Alzheimer's, and you are overwhelmed with your finances, your job situation, with the economy, and a lot of us aren't making the money that we used to. We don't feel secure like we used to. The things that we have available to us aren't ideal, and we all are absorbing this all the time. It all goes back to your mindset and what you're looking at. I mean, we all look to confirm what we already feel and know. We rarely ever challenge ourselves to step outside of that and say, well, is there something flawed with my logic? And there is definitely something flawed with the logic when you're looking at people and thinking for some reason they were able to do something because for some reason they had a leg up. And that is not the case. They had the will to push themselves to think differently, and that's what it really all boils down to. So just to in closing, just to kind of reiterate some of the things that I've already said, and like I said, this information is out there from a lot more experienced public speakers, people that have been in the self-development world a lot longer than I have. This video series is picking out the things that has really stuck for me, because if I hadn't experienced these things and had to struggle and force myself to do these things, I wouldn't make them be in this series as things that I think are important if you are ever struggling with self-doubt, with year after year putting off things that you have wanted to achieve and accomplish, and for some reason feeling guilty that you want to accomplish those things, even because that one is especially for women and moms. We are raised as women, and listen to Rachel Hollis, I think is her name. She has a great new book called Girl Wash Your Face. If you get a chance to pick that up, please do. But she talks about how we feel guilty as women sometimes because for some reason men are patted on the back for all of this. They're in sports, they're doing great, and girls are too, but women are encouraged more for the services they provide, the mother's support, the nurturing, and our value seems to come from what we do for others. And she made a comment I thought was really really interesting. She's like, well, nobody gives you a pat on the back for when you're training for a marathon for being a good mom, but you have to have those things for yourself. You have to have those things that you strive to want to be and things that you want to achieve. And I struggled with this too when Parker was first born. I did nothing but I quit almost everything when he was first born, and that was much out of wanting to be with him and not be away. But I do think we feel, well, if I'm doing this, then that means I must be failing him in some way. We can't think that way. I mean, for one, he's already 9 years old, and I can't believe that. He is going to be out of here in no time, and that's depressing and that's sad, but it's reality. And all I'm going to be stuck with is me and my life. And I need to make my life feel valuable, and I need to have those things that get me out of the bed in the morning, that keep me energized, that keep me psyched, just to keep experimenting and trying new things and pushing myself to do things that I've never done before. And, I challenge you to do the same thing. I challenge you to start reprogramming your little bloodhound, to give it a new scent on the rags. Okay. I challenge you to redirect the focus of your bloodhound. Give that bloodhound a new target to search out for, and stop focusing on the things. If you want to, just if you go to work in the morning and you are convinced that all of your coworkers hate you, then you're going to find all the evidence there to support that your coworkers hate you. If you go to work every morning and you feel like this is my team, these are the people that I have to come here every day with, and I've got to make this work. And, how is it that I can work with these folks and get the best out of myself and the best out of them? How do I create the environment that I want to be in? It's not easy, especially when you don't have control over other people, but you do have control of yourself. And we have to start taking responsibility for ourselves. And Stop making excuses. Stop wallowing in our stories, because we will never accomplish what we want to achieve, especially if you can never see it. If you can't see yourself being confident in a healthy relationship, and having connection with someone, if you can't visualize yourself being a business owner or an entrepreneur, and you don't even have to be those things, if you just can't visualize anything getting any better, you have to start looking for any evidence that you possibly can that it is possible. And try some things. If you've never experienced that stuff before, and talk to other people who've achieved those things. How do they feel? What is possible? Find out what is possible. And I would imagine that once I'm sure you suspect how that would feel. Start looking for the things that reinforce those feelings instead of where you are now. I thank you so much for your time. Please, again, like the video, share, subscribe to my YouTube channel, ring the bell, all of those things. And I hope you find this helpful. And I thank you so much for your time.